Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inner Spark. Today, I want to share with you a powerful story about staying strong in difficult times. Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it, but it is in those moments of struggle that our true character is revealed. It teaches that even in our darkest times, hope can be found, and it reminds us that difficult days are not the end, but a beginning. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others who might need encouragement today. Stephen was a 27-year-old man living in Manchester, working a steady but sometimes dull office job. His life followed a predictable routine: wake up, work, eat, and sleep. He often wondered if this was all life had to offer him. But one evening, everything changed when he received a call from the hospital. His father had been diagnosed with a severe illness, and suddenly, the ground beneath him felt unsteady. He wasn't ready for what lay ahead, yet life was giving him no choice. The days that followed were filled with endless trips to the hospital, countless medications, and late-night phone calls with doctors. Stephen tried to balance his full-time job while caring for his father at home. Many nights he would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much more he could handle. His heart was heavy with fear, and his mind was filled with questions that had no answers. He felt trapped, yet deep inside, he knew giving up was not an option. Friends and relatives called to check on him, offering kind words, but Stephen noticed that people quickly returned to their own lives. His pain was his alone to carry. The world did not stop for him. The bills still came, deadlines still loomed, and responsibilities only grew heavier. This harsh reality hit him hard. Yet, in a strange way, it fueled him. He began to understand that strength wasn't about being free of weakness, but about standing tall even when everything inside wanted to fall apart. One Saturday afternoon, as Stephen sat quietly beside his father's bed, his dad turned to him with tired but determined eyes. "Son, this is your test. Don't let it break you. Let it make you." Those words cut deep, echoing in his mind long after. They became a seed of hope buried inside his heart. For the first time, he saw his struggle not as a curse, but as an opportunity to become stronger. His father, even in weakness, was teaching him resilience. At work, Stephen started noticing changes in himself. The long hours that once felt unbearable no longer weighed him down as before. Instead, he began to see them as a blessing, a way to support his family during hard times. Each time he felt frustration rise, he reminded himself of his father's words. Slowly, he shifted from anger to gratitude. His challenges had not disappeared, but his outlook gave him new energy. His pain was still real, yet so was his growing strength. One evening, feeling suffocated by stress, Stephen decided to take a late-night walk. The streets were quiet, the air cool, and the stars faintly shining above. As he walked, he thought about his life and how fear had controlled him. Waiting for things to get easier had only made him weaker. Maybe strength was not found in escaping the storm, but in learning how to endure it. That night, under the streetlights, he made a silent promise to never run from hardship again. The more Stephen pushed forward, the more he learned about himself. He discovered that resilience wasn't just about carrying burdens. It was about choosing to keep kindness alive, keeping faith in tomorrow, and refusing to let pain harden his heart. Every trial was shaping him into someone wiser and stronger. It wasn't easy, but step by step, he was becoming someone he barely recognized, a man who could endure without losing hope. Even in the toughest times, Stephen found small reasons to smile. Sometimes it was a kind nurse greeting him with warmth. Sometimes a golden sunset outside the hospital window, and other times it was sharing a quiet cup of tea with his father. These little moments reminded him that joy could still exist, even in suffering. The more he noticed them, the more his heart softened, and the more he realized that light always exists, even in the darkest hours. Months passed, and his father's condition continued to decline, but Stephen stood firm. His friends began to notice a difference in him. They said he seemed calmer, wiser, and more grounded. Stephen didn't think of himself as special. He simply knew he had no choice but to survive. What he didn't realize, however, was that his quiet strength was becoming a source of inspiration for those around him. His pain was silently giving others courage. There were nights when Stephen cried, broken and exhausted, feeling like the weight was too heavy. But even in those tears, he found resilience. He realized that strength didn't mean never breaking. It meant rebuilding yourself every time you fell apart. Each time he wiped his face, he whispered to himself, "I'm still here. I'm still fighting." Those words became his anchor, a reminder that as long as he was breathing, he could endure. His father once told him, "Life will test you, but remember, it's not about the storm. It's about how you sail through it." These words became Stephen's compass. He started journaling late at night, pouring out his fears, hopes, and lessons. It became his therapy, his way of turning pain into meaning. Slowly, writing helped him transform his suffering into wisdom, and his doubts into lessons he could carry for life. At work, people noticed how composed Stephen had become. Colleagues began seeking his advice, sharing their own struggles with him. He was surprised that his pain had positioned him as a source of strength for others. For the first time, he realized his journey wasn't just about him. His resilience could help others face their battles. This gave him a deeper sense of purpose, one he never thought he'd find. One evening, sitting by his father's bedside, Stephen whispered, "Thank you, Dad, for teaching me strength, even through your suffering." Tears streamed down his face, but they weren't only from sadness. They were also from gratitude. His father had given him the most powerful gift of all, a lesson that no hardship could ever erase. Even in weakness, his father had been his greatest teacher. After his father passed away, Stephen carried the strength he had built like a torch. Grief weighed heavy on his heart, but instead of letting it destroy him, he let it guide him. He poured his love into becoming more compassionate, more determined, and more present in life. Though he felt the pain of loss daily, he chose to see it as proof of love, not as a burden. Pain became his teacher, and strength became his response. In the months that followed, Stephen joined a local support group for people dealing with grief. He volunteered his time, sharing his journey openly, not pretending to be perfect, but showing that survival and growth were possible. People listened, and many said his story gave them hope. For Stephen, this was healing. It meant his father's lesson lived on, not just in him, but in everyone who heard his story. Through his struggles, Stephen learned that strength was not about avoiding the fall, but about rising every time life knocked him down. He began to believe that struggles were not punishments, but stepping stones. Every difficulty had a purpose to prepare him for something greater ahead. What once felt like curses now felt like hidden blessings, slowly shaping the man he was becoming. Looking back, Stephen saw how far he had come. The boy who once doubted himself had turned into a man who could stand firm against life's storms. Challenges would surely come again, but he no longer feared them. He now trusted himself, believed in his inner strength, and knew he could survive. He was no longer waiting for life to be easy. He was prepared to be strong, no matter what came. As time passed, Stephen embraced life with a new spirit. He worked harder, loved deeper, and cherished each moment more than before. His father's words never left him. "Don't let it break you. Let it make you." Those words had shaped his journey, and now they shaped his future. Every decision he made carried the weight of those lessons, reminding him to choose resilience over despair. Years later, Stephen would tell his children the story of his struggles. He wanted them to know that life would not always be fair, but that they had the power to endure. He reminded them that strength wasn't about never falling, but about never staying down. His story became a legacy of hope, passed from father to son, shaping generations with its quiet wisdom. And so, Stephen's journey became more than just his own. It became a message to anyone facing hardships. You are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and capable of surviving more than you imagine. Hard times do not last forever, but the strength you gain from them will carry you for life. This was Stephen's truth, and it can be yours too. Life will test you, sometimes in painful ways. But true strength is not built in comfort. It is forged in the fire of struggle. Like Stephen, you can rise above the hardest moments, turning pain into wisdom and grief into growth. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and remember, the darkest nights create the brightest stars. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who might need it today.